We're here, and I'm going to mute my microphone.
Okay, you can unmute it if you need to talk to me. Okay, this is very new to me doing this way, but thank you for coming to the Find a Grave class today. I will do my best not to make this a mess, but hope you enjoy. This is usually a very interactive class, so it might be a little bit short today because we're not in a classroom, but there's a lot of information you can still get from this class. So watch and hopefully you'll be able to learn something. All right, digging up your ancestors' graves. Why do we want to become genealogy grave diggers? Besides it being fun, which it is because I love doing it, there are actually benefits to finding our ancestors' final resting places. Here are a few. You can find their names, often their birth and death dates, a possible spouse, and possibly the spouse's date of birth or date of death. Sometimes you'll even find a marriage date on them. Usually where a person is buried is also where they lived. Not always 100%, but it's often that if they're buried in an area, they either lived there once or they lived there when they passed. Okay, sometimes family members are listed and buried nearby. Now, here in Utah, it's really common to see headstones that have family members' names engraved on them, and I think that's pretty cool. It makes it a lot easier for us grave diggers to find more about the family. But so you just have to keep looking around and you might find that. Okay. Where can you look to find ancestors' burial places? Many places you can find information on where your ancestors are buried. So you can always ask family members, city records, cemetery records, family tree sites, internet search, obituaries, and of course, my favorite, you can use findagrave.com. Why find a grave? Jim Tipton created the Find a Grave website in 1995 because he could not find an existing site that catered to his hobby of visiting the graves of famous people. He found that there are many thousands of folks around the world who shared his interest. What began as an odd hobby became a livelihood and a passion. We believe this information is important for many reasons. It is of great historical importance to have a record of all those who have been part of our collective humanity. Burial information is a wonderful resource for people researching their families, genealogists. Most importantly, visiting a grave site is a way of keeping the memory of someone alive. We aim to create a comprehensive virtual cemetery where loved ones can visit graves, leave flowers, etc., when they cannot do so in real life due to geography, finances, or other circumstances. That was from Jim Tipton. Okay, who finds all the information in Find a Grave? So Find a Grave does not send people out to go do this. Find a Grave is fueled by volunteers, meaning that all the records in Find a Grave have been made by volunteers. Anyone can volunteer to add information to Find a Grave. As of now, volunteers Find a Grave have submitted over 162 million grave records from around the world. That means people on their own time have found information on graves, a grave or graves, and have filled out and uploaded the form with the transcribed information and submitted it to Find a Grave. You have to be a member to submit information to Find a Grave, but membership is free. Okay. So big shout out to those volunteers because we wouldn't have all that information. Okay, so This is an old screenshot of my thing. I have a few more memories on there, but if you kind of look here, you know, it shows that I've added 20 memorials and blah, 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 and did all this. I have a few more than that now, but nothing compared to Christina here, who has walked miles and miles around cemeteries collecting information. Here she has, this was a few years ago, 261,000 memorials that she has added. That means she has went and got the information and entered that information into Find a Grave. So that's a pretty hefty accomplishment. Okay, this is what the memorials look like. Pretty straightforward, easy to read. Let's see. You have your name, you have your birth and death information. If there's a spouse, it'll show you the link if the spouse has been linked in Find a Grave. Burial place, who created it, photo of, this one has a photo of an obituary that I put in, and a photo of the cemetery. Now, you can add pictures in. Most people will add in a picture of a headstone, so you'll be able to see that, which again can give you some other information. Some people just have to show a picture of the cemetery that it's in, but you can also load up other information, or I have loaded like a death certificate in. So if you're looking for that person, you may find a bunch of additional information by what somebody has loaded up as a photo. So this is my grandmother. And so once again, her name, her death and birth information. This one has her parents. So her parents are linked to her. So now you can kind of start going through the family, her spouse, and then her children and siblings. So in this one, you see that there's a lot of information that you can get from this one site, from this one person's memorial. You can, you know, start filling in a whole family tree. Her burial created, I put a family photo in, a headstone, that's the family headstone, and then of course her personal headstone. So you can add in a lot of information if you are the volunteer putting it up. Now, for myself, when I put them up, I try to put as much information in as possible so that when others need to go look for information, they'll have it. Okay, so let's go. We're gonna go, if everybody, well, you're probably all on your computers, but we're going to run through what Find a Grave, how to put up information into Find a Grave. Okay, so searching for a memorial, on the left side, you'll find this. And you do a begin new search. I think I need to update this a little bit. And then you fill out this form. So if you're searching for somebody, you're going to fill out the form. You're going to put in John Doe and, you know, a little bit of information of where you think this person might be. Or you can go and you can look into a cemetery itself. So if you know that somebody, you're pretty sure somebody was buried at Larkin Cemetery, you're going to put Larkin, and you're going to put, you know, in the US, in Utah, and it'll bring up any ones, and you can click on the right one that you want. And then you can actually go and look for people through them that way too. Okay, so it's not hard to go search for people. It's just whether it's somebody's upload, you know, put that person in or not. If you find that you know information about a person and their burial place and you cannot find it in Find a Grave, please take the time and fill out the information and submit it to Find a Grave. So it can help somebody else. Okay, adding in burial information. Now let's check out how to add a new grave. It's quite easy. Click on add burial records. Let me back up for a second. So in the add burial records, as you see on your screen, this is the information you put in, as much information as you can. And you put in the cemetery place, and that we'll go through a little bit more, okay? Editing existing memorials, you can edit a memorial that you found, and if you found an error in it, you can go to the edit, and what it does is you tell them what you want to edit, and it sends it to the original person who submitted it, or the person who manages that memorial. And then that person will look over the information and make sure that it's correct, and then they will update that person's memorial and Find a Grave. Okay, so adding photos and requesting photos, anyone can add anyone. So you don't have to be the caretaker of that memorial in Find a Grave to add photos. You do have to be, if you're the caretaker, you're the only one who can actually fix the date and death and family members and such. But for adding photos, you do not have to be the caretaker. Anybody can add a photo to a memorial. So this is where I would go to if I was on somebody's and I wanted to add a photo or a picture, say, of a death certificate, or of a family photo maybe, or a photo of the person. Then I would go and I would hit add right here, add this person. But if there's no photos there, and I live in Utah, but my ancestor is in Ohio, I can hit request a photo. So there's the add, and here's the request, okay? That request will be sent out to volunteers in the area where the cemetery is. So if I'm sending it out to Ohio, whoever's in the area of that cemetery will get an email saying, would you mind taking a picture of this headstone? And then somebody will accept that, and they'll go do it and upload it. And that's how we all work together to make sure this gets all complete and up to date. Okay, questions? Sorry, we're skipping questions. Okay. Let's start digging on our ancestors. Kind of reminds me of my great-grandmother a little. Oh no, I thought there was more to this. Darn it. Okay, that's essentially the end of our class, but I'll just talk to you a little bit about finding more information. When you're in Find a Grave, you can go and when you fill out the memorial, when you're going to upload a memorial, there's all sorts of different things you can upload for, like, where they died and stuff like that. So I have a great-grandfather who died at sea. And so there's actually a place, instead of saying that they were buried in this cemetery, it says that you can put, died at sea, or can't remember the other ones. There's a couple different options of, like, where they died. Let me think of some other information. The site is not a difficult site to maneuver. If we were sitting in a classroom right now, I would be instructing you how to maneuver through the site, and we would be going through how to get around it more and such. And I think I will need to update my presentation for this purpose if we're not going to be able to be in classrooms as much, so that I can go through that a little bit more. But this, I have found great joy in looking in cemeteries for my ancestors. It's been very rewarding and eye-opening. And some of these cemeteries that I have visited, I went back to Ohio and did some research and stuff. My parents were living back there at the time, and I went through probably about 15 different cemeteries. And these cemeteries were really old, like some of our really old little pioneer cemeteries. They were, just maybe 20 to 50 people in them. Half the time you couldn't even read what was on them, but it was very interesting and just a really great experience looking through these cemeteries and looking for bits and pieces of information about my ancestors. And some of them I was able to, do some etchings and be able to pull some dates and stuff off of a few things because we didn't have anything on it. And so I was able to and update other information that I did had that, sometimes family members pass down information and sometimes it gets a little bit mixed up. So I was able to clarify some information. I've been able to find some other missing children by doing grave digging. And I know that sounds horrible, but it's been very rewarding. And often I'll find myself, on Find a Grave for a few hours, just pulling up people and going to the links that link them to their, their children and then their parents. And you just start getting this wealth of information and you get it all put in, and it feels like such an accomplishment. So I wish that we were sitting in a classroom. I'm not sure what else to teach you here. We usually go through everything and step by step how to, as people are looking up stuff. I think I will update this this presentation, and so maybe I can be able to share more information from it. But I'm sorry this is a short class today, and I hope I didn't waste your time. I hope you were able to get some information out of it, but I will work on updating this so that there's more information, and so it's more easy to use across a platform like this. But when we get back to the Family History Center, I'd love for you to come in and take this class where we can sit down and you can ask all the questions you want and be able to get a better feel on how to use Find a Grave and what is available to you. So sorry, this is only a 20-minute class, but I hope you have a great day. And I look forward to seeing you back at the Family History Center when we get things opened back up. And until next time, if we're still on this kind of a process, then when this class comes up, I will make sure that it is a lot longer and a lot more information. So have a good day, and we will see you soon, hopefully.
Hey, Shelley.
Is everybody muted?
Hi, Shelley. This is Bob Taylor.
Hi, Bob.
You are a rock star.
That was a very short, yeah, that's kind of hard when you have a very interactive class. Some of my other classes aren't, you can go for a whole hour talking, but this one's a very interactive class, so it was a little bit hard to. get that
Yeah,
information
understood.
across.
But it was good enough just for us to get you to share the screen rather than to do some kind of technologically advanced interactive exercises or something.
Yeah, we did good to get the screen going.
We did great. That was an A for the day. Yes.
So by next class, I should be more familiar.
Yeah, but that's a good thing for us on our end to figure out is what are the different options that somebody on a laptop might encounter? Like if they don't see a particular button, is there something else they click? That's good for us to know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what was the name of the button? It said share application or something?
So it's up on the share. When you go to try to share, it said share entire screen, share application, or share window. And I clicked on the application, and then it came up. So it wouldn't let me share the entire screen, which is kind of weird. But when I hit that, I think it said application. It was the middle one, and then it popped up. So.
Okay. What color was that button? Was it red or green or?
I can't remember, but it was the middle one. There were
Okay.
3 options, and it was the middle one.
Yeah, I think that's what threw us off because the middle button for me was red, and so it was a different color for you. So yeah,
Yeah, and
nice.
I should have been able to share my entire screen, and so I don't know why it wouldn't let me do that. But once I hit that other one, it popped right up. So.
Yeah. Okay, good to know.
But I think I have another class in a week or 2, maybe a week. I think next week I have a class
Uh-huh.
on sources.
Let me check on that really quick because I have the spreadsheet up right here. You're on June 16th.
Oh, okay, that's what it was. Okay. So yeah, and that's, I think, sources, right?
Yes, understanding the source.
Yeah, and that's a really good class to do on this because there's a ton of information where, it's more sharing than interactive.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that will be a good one.
Well, thank you so very much. We've got your check in the mail for you.
Okay, great. I always appreciate that. You have a good one, Bob.
All right, you too. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Are you still there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How are you? Oh, I never bailed out of the meeting. Wow,
Oh,
how about that? Weird.